Do you have any idea of what's in the more than 2,000 pages of the federal healthcare law? Well, neither do your representatives. Very few of them even bothered to read it before they passed it. If they had read it, they would have known that it intends to throw out a pretty good healthcare system in favor of a system designed by lobbyists, run by bureaucrats, and forced on us by the federal government. The passage of the Federal Health Care Act has brought protests from many Americans. If you want a free ride with someone else paying for your health care, you might like the law. But if you don't want to be forced to buy something you don't need and don't want, what can you do? Take them to court. PLF is preparing a challenge of that provision so you don't have to. Jim Burling is Director of Litigation for Pacific Legal Foundation. Here he outlines the constitutional constraints that he says Congress has ignored.
As the country became larger and the economy became more interdependent with railroads and the rise of large corporations, a need was seen for greater federal intervention in the economy of the United States. But it really was not until the New Deal that that trend took off with incredible rapidity. And it came to the point where at first it was the idea that we have to regulate not only commerce, not only the roads, the bridges, the canals, but we have to regulate the manufacturing of articles that go into commerce. And with the regulation of the manufacture of articles, Congress began to regulate wages, hours, and all sorts of things that had been previously in the province of the states. And finally, the trend reached its high point or low point, depending on one's point of view, with a case where a farmer who was trying to grow wheat on his own property for his own personal consumption was told, no, he can't do that because that regulation was going to have an impact on the national economy. That is, wheat he was growing for his own family meant that he was not buying wheat elsewhere, therefore there was an impact on the economy. And that has been considered, until recently, the farthest extent of the Commerce Clause ever. And with that case, the question naturally arose, what's left? The health care bill tests the limits of the Commerce Clause, especially because of the individual mandate. The individual mandate requiring that all individuals, whether or not they want to, no matter what the state of their health is, no matter what the state of their financial health is, must go out and get health insurance or suffer the penalty of the federal government. Now, the problem here is that even after cases like the regulation of the wheat farmer that I mentioned a minute ago, we know quite clearly that there must be limits on the Commerce Clause. So now, when we're looking at the health care bill, you're asked, well, isn't that part of commerce? Well, sure it is. But the decision not to enter into the marketplace, not to get insurance, a decision by an individual not to engage in commerce should not be considered part of commerce under any logical understanding of that. That is why we believe that this new health care bill raises serious constitutional concerns. And that is why, despite the talk of many people that this will survive a Supreme Court test, we believe it is very important that this issue get to the courts and get to the courts with briefing from Pacific Legal Foundation. And we think that our expertise on the Commerce Clause will be invaluable to the courts in understanding that, yes, when our founding fathers established limits on the power of Congress, and it only gave to Congress limited powers, such as the Commerce Clause, the founding fathers meant what they said. They meant that our federal government, as important as that government is, must be limited in order to protect liberty. And our role right now is to make sure that our liberties are not taken away through excessive regulation of private activity, in this case, the activity of one's personal decision whether or not to buy health insurance or not to buy health insurance.
Watch this website for updates on the progress of this litigation. After all, it's a free country, and PLF is working hard to keep it that way.